There you are, and I am live. Hey folks, how you doing? This is Kurt with Mañana Nomás, and the title of this is kind of interesting. It says "Ghosted." Lucky you. Well, here's the deal. I got ghosted, so I'm supposed to be recording episode 100 of the Mañana Nomás podcast right now, at this moment. And guess what I'm not doing? I'm not recording a podcast. I'm not recording episode 100. And I was kind of excited to do episode 100, to be honest with you, because it's a big feather in your cap. Speaking of caps, I moved to Kansas. I got a new hat. So when you get ghosted, there's a couple of things that you can do. You can be upset. You can be pissed off. You can be angry. You can be dejected. You can be depressed. There's all these things that can happen to you. But we want to have a conversation about, what do you really do when you get ghosted? So take a look at what's happening now. Instead of one of those listen to what I say, but do as I do situations, right? So some people would be like, hey, don't listen to what I say, just do what I do. Other people say, listen to what I say, don't watch what I do. Equity and integrity and all these things come into the fray. But I'm going to tell you this. Hopefully, and I may go into a little more detail on this because I've got the time slated. Hopefully, you have built yourself as a professional multiple verticals that you can excel in. I think that this is important to consider. In 2020, I left my corporate position and I relaunched Mañana Nomás. Now, Mañana Nomás does a lot of things, and a lot of people would tell you that's a mistake. A lot of people would say you got to focus. You got to focus on your one thing, and you got to, optimize every opportunity and all these things. But here's what I found. I found that I need to have established verticals that are well defined and independent of each other. And that creates a diversity in our revenue flow. If I had all of my ducks in the Power Sport Academy and I was dependent upon selling training to motorcycle dealerships, I would be really wealthy in the fall and really broke in the spring and completely destitute in the summer. So as you can see, the nature of what that is, it's not full-time. It's not year-round. Now, digital marketing is full-time. Running a newsletter is full-time. Developing curriculum is full-time. I'm not saying there's not things to keep you busy. What I am saying is the flow of revenue is very seasonal. So let's say I have a motorcycle dealership in the Northeast. Do I just sell motorcycles, or do I also get into side-by-sides, snow machines, and also have a snow removal service on the side? So when it's really slow during the winter, but it snows and there's a blizzard, I can get my Benjamins. You see, if you have these verticals built, when you get ghosted, you don't get upset. You don't get ticked. You don't get dejected. You just check that off the list and you go to the next thing on the list because you have these verticals. When you look at Mañana Nomás as a structure, I do public speaking. We're a full service agency. We do graphics. We do branding, right? So we do style guides and branding guides and things like that for different companies. We build learning and membership websites. We build e-commerce websites on a national level, on an international level, and way down at the local level. And people would say, well, Kurt, what's the drive for that? I mean, are you really growing in all those areas? And I say this, can we throw our line out and bring in a whale every now and then? Absolutely. And boy, is that fun. It's great to sell a website that's $50, $60, $70, $80, $90,000. That's awesome. That's fun. Super fun to sell it, and really fun to dig down deep and nail these projects, through project management and having a qualified team of people assembled. It's really fun to do those types of things. But if I'm gonna be realistic with you, I'm gonna tell you, for our agency, those whales aren't out there week after week, month after month. So we pepper in a lot of other things. We pepper in curriculum development. We pepper in consulting and coaching for people that want to build their own learning and membership websites. You know, a great deal of revenue through our agency actually comes from coaching and consulting. So when you take a look at all of those verticals, when someone ghosts me for a podcast recording, I'm able to go, okay, what's next on the list? You know, now in this case, I'm making this live. I just want to communicate to folks, and I want to give people a positive message. I want to give people an inspiration or a way to keep moving forward. And so this is not the first time I've been ghosted. I've been ghosted a few times lately. So I don't know if it is a lowering of priority for people to follow through on what they say they're going to do. I don't know if their days are getting too busy. They're not good at project management. They're not good at managing their own schedules. They're not good at whatever. But you send the reminders, you open up the Zoom room, you get ready to record your podcast, and no one shows up. So that could be lost time. That could be time where nothing happens. Or it could be the time where you open up another window on your computer and you say, okay, what emails have I skimmed over today, but I could really read and review? Okay, because I'm using that time that was pre-booked for something else. So now I'm getting ahead on that category. Then I dive into my X account, multiple X accounts, and I go, okay, do we have any notifications we need to clean up? Do we have anything on the first page of scrolling that we need to address or comment on or participate in? Take that off the list. Jump into LinkedIn. Do we have any notifications there? Any unanswered messages? Anything where we need to contact somebody to keep the relationship fresh? Do we have any of that? Okay, boom, take that out. And so what you're noticing there is the time has been slotted to record the podcast, and that's a loss. That's a wash. And is it upsetting that you want to make friends and you want to help somebody promote their business? And in case you didn't know this, the Mañana No Mas podcast, it's not a spotlight on Kurt and the Mañana No Mas show. It is a spotlight on the guest. So it's a spotlight for them to talk about their journey as an entrepreneur, as a leader. Sometimes it's in business, sometimes it's in fitness, but we focus on their product, their journey, and all of that. And I get really excited to help people share their stuff. And so, yes, we missed out on that. That's sad. What's not sad is my email inbox is at zero. You know, when you get that inbox zero and you feel like you've accomplished something? Well, then I went through my Gmail inbox and that's at zero. And then I went through my Outlook inbox and that's at zero. So you get the idea. I'm able to take that time and make it efficient, make it productive with things that may have fallen by the wayside when I over prioritize other things. Okay. Another great thing that happened was an established client of Mañana No Mas had a pretty important question about some custom work we did for their WordPress website. It's a Divi-based website, but we built a lot of block templates and patterns that were customized. And so they had a specific question about that, and they were willing to meet on Friday. But they said, if you have the time, it would be awesome if we could handle this because it's kind of a timely thing. So I just, hey, this Zoom window's already open. And guess what? Someone didn't use their Zoom meeting, right? So now this Zoom window's already open. So I say, hey, the Zoom window's open. Why don't you jump in here and we'll have a quick conversation. Now there's a reason why Mañana No Mas, quite frankly, is growing and excelling past a lot of our competition right now. And it's going to go back to my experience when I was a corporate person. When I was in corporate America and I had to contact one of our web vendors, I always got voicemail. I always got put off on email. I'd always get responses 24 to 48 hours later. When they would schedule an appointment with me, it would be 10, 14 days in advance. When I would request something easy, something as simple as we need to change the heading on this article on this page. Something as simple as just changing the heading. I would get like, oh, no problem, Kurt. We can queue that up for you Thursday after next. Well, it's going to take you 13 days to change a heading on a page. And so one of the things that I put in place with Mañana No Mas, and you'll know this when you see our catchphrase, basically our catchphrase is getting shit done yesterday. And the reason I chose that is because I was so tired of people putting things off till tomorrow what they could do today. Hence our name, Mañana no más, tomorrow no more. So when a customer, especially an established customer, gets in touch with us and says, hey, you built all these cool custom things, but we got some questions and it's kind of a timely thing. We're willing to wait till Friday when you got an open slot. And I say, hey, let's just jump on a Zoom call right now and handle that. How far do you think that goes in further cementing that relationship in a positive way and gaining us referrals and growth opportunities downstream? So that to me is absolutely huge. So you got ghosted. My question was, I say ghosted, lucky you. But then the question was, you got ghosted, what do you do next? So do you send angry emails? Do you send a text message that says, where you're wasting my time? My time is very important. I can't believe you did this to me. No. Here's the other side of the coin. You never know how bad or how anxiety-ridden somebody else's day is. So what I try to do, especially if it's a first-time offender, is I try to extend grace. So I'll say, hey, this meeting room is open. I'll be here for a little while. And if they don't show up after 15, 20 minutes, half hour, whatever, because remember, I'm doing other things. The window's open in the background and I'm doing other things. If they show up, Zoom's going to go ding, ding, right? So I'm doing other things. I say, hey, the window's going to be open for a while. When I go to turn that window off, I'll say, hey, I'll send them another email and I'll say, hey, I'm closing the window now. Perhaps we'll schedule this for another time. ? Easy. I'm not apologizing. I'm not begging. I'm not saying, oh, you ruined my day. None of that. Because you have no idea what somebody else is going through in the moment. They could have had a car accident. A spouse could have been diagnosed with something horrible. Maybe they found out, one of their nieces died. You have no idea what happened in somebody's day. So to come down on someone like a hard ass because they missed a meeting, that's just not really all that genuine or kind. And so I try to hit people with a little bit of flexibility and leave that openness that says, I'm open to reschedule this if you want to do this at another time. If you don't want to do this and you changed your mind, that's fine too. Right? At Mañana no más, we only want to do business with people that want to do business with us. In fact, we recently, and I put a live out about this, but we recently invited a customer to just move along. They signed up, they paid for a year of hosting in advance. They asked a lot of questions. They made some demands. They made some implications that they didn't feel that we were serving them at the level at which they had expected. But here's the rub. Folks, we do a needs assessment every time we assign a customer. And I shouldn't say every time because we have packages we sell that don't need that. But this was a website migration. And during the needs assessment, I know what I'm doing. This is all that I need. This is all I need you to do. I don't want to spend a lot of money on this. I just want to do X, Y, and Z. I said, okay, for just X, Y, and Z, it's going to be this much money. And they said, okay, great. And then we did it. And part of that was prepaying for a year of hosting. Now, once we got all that done and we met the scope of work, we met the proposal, there were more questions about training and consulting and a lot of things that quite honestly didn't match the needs assessment. We put in a lot of extra time and we could tell the customer still wasn't satisfied. Now, knowing that we did what we needed to do and knowing that we overextended ourselves beyond what we were paid for, I still felt like I want to do the right thing for this person. So even though they prepaid for the year in advance, which gave them a discount, right? So track this. If you pay month by month, it's going to be this much. If you pay for the year, it's going to be this much. They still said, hey, let's just prorate the months that you haven't used. We'll take what you paid, we'll divide it by 12, and then we'll prorate what you didn't use, and you're free to take your website and your software and all your stuff and put it wherever you want to put it. Because I can tell you're not happy with what's here. Now, I don't know if they're going to find a better experience somewhere else. I doubt that they would. But it's part of that needs assessment process where as a vendor, you have to be honest with what's going to be provided. But as a client, you also have to acknowledge what your true needs are. If you're just trying to squeak under a certain budget and you're trying to say, no, I got that, I'm good, don't worry about it, I got it, I can do it, we're good, all I need for you to do is X, Y, and Z. That's all people want to do is X, Y, and Z. Once they give you that dollar amount, that's all they want to do. And so we did it, and then we did more, and then we did more. And this is probably where I made the biggest mistake. We did a lot of extra work and didn't charge for it, which set the expectation bar a little higher than it should have been. And that's the lesson that you learn as you go, identifying personality types, answers. And it's a good thing to have everything in writing, have a proposal, have a scope of work written out, have things done, right? But that's my point. My point was, someone ghosts you, they don't show up, don't hang them out to dry. Don't mention their name in the live that you're going to make, right? Don't dox them, whatever it is that you want to come up with. Extend a little bit of grace. Just as I chose to extend a little bit of grace to the customer that we let move on. We could have said, no, you prepaid for the year, you got that discount, you're locked in, that's your contract. You got to give us 30 days notice to cease your services. And what does that do? I don't want unhappy customers in the Mañana No Mas circles. We only want happy customers in the Mañana No Mas circles. The happier the customers are, the more successful they're going to be. And quite honestly, the more referrals and the more growth we're going to experience. Now, that all said, I think I was talking earlier about having those verticals in place. And this is something that was actually going to be talked about on this podcast. But I know that what I'm saying goes against a lot of what other business advisors say. But I am self-employed and buying a new house. So I think some of what I'm doing is working. I have a vertical, so I train people in the marine industry, people that sell boats. I train people under a contract with another company for that. I onboard people with WP Tonic, which is a WordPress managed hosting company. And so I work with another company, right? And I help onboard all of their customers, which also exposes me to all of their customers in case they want to buy services. So we've got that. I help people at Lifter LMS, which is the company that makes the learning software that Mañana No Mas predominantly installs in our learning websites. So since I predominantly serve my clients with that product, it makes perfect sense that I would also extend my expertise vertically, directly to the vendor that makes the product. So I, under contract, work with them. I have the Power Sport Academy that leverages my 20 plus years of experience in the power sports industry to help motorcycle dealerships improve their parts and labor sales and their interdepartmental relationships between service, sales, and parts. And I have the public speaking and the business consulting in another vertical. So when you have all of these verticals kind of lined up, you can actually put them on like a bar chart and you could go, okay, what's the revenue that this generated, this generated, this generated, this generated, this generated. And people might say, gosh, Kurt, you're all over the place. You're all over the place. How do you manage it? And to me, they're all related. If you take a look at Lifter LMS, WP Tonic, Mañana No Mas website stuff, right? If you take a look at those are all in the same category. Those are all working in IT, working in the WordPress space and working with people that want to have membership and learning based websites. So those are all related. Those all go together. And then when you take a look at the work that we do in marine and the work that we do in power sports, they are so unwittingly familiar to each other. They're almost like their own vertical together. They're very separate because the marine stuff I do for the Marine Retailers Association and the power sport stuff I do for the Power Sport Academy, which is a subsidiary of Mañana No Mas. We own that. That's our product. Now, the Power Sport Academy is actually working with a 20 groups provider in the motorcycle industry, and that's where a lot of our clients and customer flow is coming from. And so you can see, by being able to have all of these different verticals, when I get ghosted for a time where I'm supposed to be online, like doing a podcast, if I get ghosted, because I have those different verticals and all those different connections outside the office, I'm always able to take that time, even though it might not be slated as productive time. I'm always able to take that time and convert it into a session of productivity. I hope I'm making sense. Folks, I encourage you, if you have meetings, if you have things that aren't working out, if you have things that get canceled last minute, don't turn on the TV. Don't sit and doom scroll your TikTok for an hour. I encourage you, take a look at your own verticals. Take a look at your own segments of activity and say to yourself, how can I backfill this open time that I've got for myself? Stay efficient, stay productive. And like I tell people when I'm training people for boats and motorcycles and all that stuff, if you work on productivity and you work on efficiency, well, then it stands to reason you're also working on profit. And profit to me is one of the drivers of everything. Now I'm going to check comments here. It looks like comments are blank. So I'm going to hit you guys with the hey, thanks for watching. And I will see you again very, very soon.